You hear that rain, boys? You look up at the clouds, and you worry about getting your boots muddy? I hear that rain, and my chest gets tight. My lungs feel like they're filling up with ice water. You think the dark is scary? Try the dark when it's wet. Try the dark when it's rising up your legs, and you got nowhere to run. You think you know fear? It's a cold night tonight. Good night for a fire. I see you looking at my hands, knuckles swollen up like walnuts. You young ones, you go down into the pit now with your fancy respirators and your hydraulic roof supports. We didn't have that. I want to tell you about the shift that changed me. I want to tell you about the time the maps lied. That was back in 1974. When I was 22, I was lean, hungry, and stupid. I thought I was invincible. We called it the coffin because the ceiling was so low, you had to crawl on your knees for 3 miles just to get to the coal face. I remember checking my tag at the tally board. Brass tag number 409. You hang it up so they know you're down there. If that tag is still there at the end of the shift and you aren't, well, they send the rescue team. My partner that night was Big Jim Miller. He taught me how to listen to the roof. Listen, Silas, he'd say. The mountain talks. You just gotta learn the language. We rode the man-trip car down into the gloom. Clank, clank, clank. The smell hits you first. Sulfur. Wet rock and the sweat of 1,000 men who worked there before you. The air gets thick. It tastes like copper in your mouth. A big, nasty machine with a chainsaw blade 9 feet long that sliced into the bottom of the coal seam. It was loud. Deafening. You couldn't hear yourself think, let alone hear the mountain talking. We were working a section near the old abandoned works of the Red Ridge mine. The company map said there was a 100-foot barrier of solid rock between us and the old mine. The old mine had been closed for 20 years. It was filled with water. But like I said, ... maps lie. About 3 a.m., things got quiet. Too quiet. Big Jim shut down the shuttle car. He tilted his head, his cap lamp cutting a yellow beam through the dust. Hear what, Jim? The fans? No, he said, and his face went pale under the soot, thumping, like a heartbeat in the wall. We walked over to the face, the wall of coal we were about to blast. I put my hand on the coal. It was sweating, not just damp, but wet. Rivulets of water were trickling out of the cracks. Then I smelled it. It didn't smell like sulfur anymore. It smelled like a swamp. It smelled like rotten eggs and old death. Get the tools, Jim said, his voice low and tight. Gotta go now. I was 22 and I hesitated. Jim, the foreman will dock our pay if we leave the face early. Boy, Jim barked, grabbing my shoulder. To hell with the pay. Look at the floor. And then it happened. It wasn't a bang. It wasn't an explosion. It was a sound like a jet engine starting up inside a closet. The wall of coal in front of us just ... dissolved. The barrier had been paper thin. We had punched right into the old Red Ridge Reservoir. The water hit us like a freight train. It wasn't clean water, boys. It was sludge. Hot. It was black, thick, and freezing cold. My light went out. Total darkness. You don't know dark until you're 2 miles underground with no light. It's heavy. It presses on your eyes. I swallowed a mouthful of that vile water and gagged. I flailed my arms, trying to find up, trying to find down. It was Jim. He still had his light. The beam was swinging wildly, illuminating the horror. The tunnel was filling up. Fast. Run, Jim roared. Out to the incline. Go. We ran. God, how we ran. But running in a mine isn't like running on a track. The floor is uneven, covered in rails and debris. The ceiling was only 4 feet high. We were crouched over, splashing through knee-deep water that was rising to our waists. The roof had come down, blocking the exit. The water had washed out the timbers. We were cut off. I looked at Jim. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. He checked his watch. He checked the water level. It was at our belts now. The air shaft, Jim said. It's the only way. It's old. It's steep, but it goes up. We backtracked, fighting the current now. The water was rising faster. I started thinking about the girl I was sweet on, Sarah, who worked at the diner. I thought, I'm never gonna buy her that ring. Don't you quit on me, Silas. Jim slapped my helmet. Focus. Grab that pipe. We found the old air shaft. It was a vertical chimney, rough cut through the rock, with rusty iron staples driven into the wall for a ladder. Jim boosted me up. You go first, kid. You're lighter. I started climbing. The iron staples were slick with slime. My boots slipped. My hands were numb. Below me, the water was swirling, a black whirlpool of debris. We climbed for what felt like hours. My arms were burning. My lungs were screaming for air. The air in the shaft was bad, low oxygen. I started seeing spots. Jim, I whispered. My light, ... double quotes. Keep climbing, Silas. Use mine. Just don't stop. But then disaster struck. A rock broke loose under Jim's foot below me. I heard a grunt, a splash, and then, I'm here, ... double quotes. His voice was weak, strained, slipped. Hurt my leg bad, can't push up. I froze. I was 22, I was terrified. I looked down, could see the faint glow of his lamp, but it wasn't moving up. The water was rising beneath him. I'm coming down, I said. No. Jim's voice echoed up the shaft. You keep climbing. You get to the top, you bang on the pipes. You save yourself, Silas. That's an order. I ain't leaving you, Jim. The water's at my chest, son. You can't pull me up, not with a broken leg. Go, live your life. But I knew he was right. I couldn't lift a 200-pound man straight up a vertical shaft. I turned my face upward, and I climbed. I climbed for Jim. I don't remember the last 50 feet. I was a machine, broken, weeping machine. I reached the top of the shaft. It was capped with a steel grate. I pounded on it with a rock. Clang, clang, clang. I screamed until my voice was gone. I laid there, pressed against the grate, feeling the cold air from the surface, unable to get out. I passed out. I woke up to the sound of a torch cutting steel. Sparks were raining down on me. Beautiful orange sparks. We got one, someone shouted. Strong hands pulled me out. The sunlight, Evan, though it was cloudy, it blinded me. It hurt my eyes like needles. They laid me on a stretcher. The foreman was there, the medics. Where's Miller? The foreman asked. Where's Jim? I couldn't speak. I just pointed down into the black hole. I shook my head. They sent a basket down, but the water had risen too high. It didn't recover Big Jim for 3 days. They had to pump the mine dry first. That was 50 years ago. I went to Jim's funeral. I told Mary what he said. He gave her his check that I found in his locker. I eventually went back down into the mines. You have to, it's all we know, but I was never the same. I was a boy when I went down that shaft at 22, and I came out an old man. So you young bloods, you look at that mountain and you see a paycheck, you see a job. I look at it and I see a tombstone. When you go down there tomorrow, you watch your brother's back. You check your maps and you listen to the roof. If you ever hear the water running where it shouldn't be, you run, and you don't look back. Now, help me up. My knees are seizing up again. Storm's getting worse.